Good afternoon, fellow truth seekers. Happy Sabbath. And I cannot say it's another beautiful day in Texas. It is another stormy, cold, winter weather this weekend in Texas. But fellow truth seekers, it's that way across a lot of the United States today. So we hope everyone is safe. And we are going to get into the study on how do you have the mind of Jesus. I mean, really, you look at Philippians 2, and I just want to tell you, fellow truth seekers, how does this work? Right? It says, have the mind in yourselves, which also Jesus Christ had. Don't merely look out for your own interests, but also for the interest of others. Well, that's fine, right? Although he existed in the form of God, he did not regard himself as God. Fellow truth seekers, the first thing that comes to mind is that Jesus didn't acknowledge himself as God. But how many of us, fellow truth seekers, say in passing, well, that person deserves this, or that person deserves this, or wait a minute, I'm acting like I'm able to judge. And if that, am I not doing something Jesus never did? And that is, fellow truth seekers, I'm thinking I'm God. And really, that, I think, is the first unspoken message of what we need to do right now is we need to look at Jesus didn't account himself equal to God.
He did. He said, me and the Father are one.
But did that say that he did not merely look out? Because it says here, and we need to find out what that means then, he emptied himself, taking the form of a bondservant and being made in the likeness of man. So how is Jesus one with the Father, and yet he's humbled himself to be the lowest of all mankind? So what do we do with that? That's really, and I appreciate you bringing that out, because Alosha, that means that we can have the same likeness of Jesus with and yet be one with the Father and the one with Jesus, because that's what he tells us to do in John.
Yeah, he said, abide in me. And
yeah. But does that mean I can be God?
no, it doesn't.
So how do I have the mind of Jesus and not the of God Jesus? So that's the biggest step right there. I think so often we get so hung up on we're the judge, we're the children of God, we're more important than Brand whoever down the street. But in our Bible study that's attached to our Talking Jesus YouTube channel for today's, we read in Philippians 2:5. But then the way of Christ is maybe the thinking by shaping us with humility, obedience, and love. Jesus did not live for personal gain or power. In fact, he fully submitted his will to the Father. Now, how do we do that? How do we fully submit our will? I mean, right now, Jesus never tried for personal gain. Does that mean we're never to try for personal gain? Oh, so then I might have a misunderstanding of, wait a minute, I'm the boss. I'm the boss of 4,000 people. That's just made up. Nobody quote me on that. And I don't submit to anybody but somebody of my superior. Again, what we're finding out is we have a crash here, fellow truth seekers. We have a crash between how do we live in this world and how do we live in the Spirit. Because Jesus didn't live for personal gain, didn't live for recognition or power, fully submitted to the will of the Father in sinful flesh as a carpenter. How does that work? That's the question, fellow truth seekers. How do we get the mind of Christ? What does it mean to have the mind of Christ? And then the key truth here is having the mind of Jesus means choosing God's will over our own. Oh, now it's into the will worship. Ooh. I don't like the will. I want to do a variety of things on my own. When I was a kid, my brother and I used to talk about whether or not who made who do what. And so we are always saying, oh, somebody made you do that, somebody made you do that, so we could always get out of being in trouble. The meaning that someone else is responsible and we don't have to be responsible. But if we receive the mind of Christ, it's not through human effort. I mean, you can, but how do you get the mind of Christ? I mean, just, excuse me, hold it, I gotta. Okay, now I have the mind of Christ. Is that how it works?
Well, I don't know how it works, but it truly says in the word receive. So we have to receive it.
From who?
From the Father, I guess, or from Jesus himself.
Or from the Spirit. Because that's where it says in Romans 12, 1 and 2, and in 1 Corinthians 2, 16, our minds are renewed when we submit, when we're born again, when we submit our will to Jesus. The Holy Spirit enables us to think, discern, and respond. Oh, so then I need to be open to receive something from somebody other than myself.
Right.
I need to receive from Jesus. I need to receive from the Father, because it says the Father knows what you need.
Yeah.
And I'm also to receive from the Holy Spirit, who knows what we need and prays for us. So again, does the mind of Christ look in action, or is it more in receiving? Because if it's action, we got to look at Jesus, because Jesus had a mind, and if he did things, what did he do with his mind? He made choices of serving people. He made, I've never been accused of serving 5,000 people. I haven't even served 300 people. So I'm thinking, we're just, if we're following Jesus' pattern, we're thinking of how we can serve other people, how we can make other people's lives better. And so as we continue this, do we do it while we're bragging? Yeah, you know what? I have you ever read in the Bible that Jesus said, did you know I fed 5,000 people? I mean, rock on, I'm a rock star. Did he ever say that? No. But he did say, pick up all the scraps.
Mm-hmm.
Because why?
Don't waste the food.
Don't waste the food. I love that. I love that. So why does it matter that we have the mind of Christ? When we're believers and think like Jesus, then we reveal Jesus in our behavior. And that's pretty cool. That's what he's asking for. Settling our minds on Christ produces spiritual growth, peace, unity, and a life that every day reflects Jesus. So I have a question. What attitudes of Jesus stand out the most to you? Really, fellow truth seekers, what attitudes of Jesus stand out the most? Do you have? You can write in the comments if you would like. You can tell us that, one of the things that stands out to me the most in Jesus is he was always, always giving. And he wasn't giving to take like some people do. They give us compliments so that they can take something from us. But then, let me ask you another question, fellow truth seekers. Where is God inviting you today to surrender? What way of thinking? Because this is, remember, we put on the helmet of salvation. We have that mind that needs to be guarded. We need to have our imagination guarded. And so what way of thinking is God impressing you that needs to be surrendered to the mind of Jesus?
Well, the word says clearly, keep every thought captive.
Every thought captive?
Yeah, not some, every.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
But again, it says if you keep every thought captive, it says whatsoever things are. Does it have the list in the Bible that says you can think of shoot 'em up, bang, bang movies? You can think of the worldly racing, or we can think of the world of war and greed and fear. It says every thought captive, whatsoever is pure, kind, loving, good report, hopeful.
Think of those things.
Think on those things. So, fellow truth seekers, God's asking us to receive the mind of Jesus, but that's just not this esoteric out there mind. It's actually physically transferring into behavior. Think on those things. What is one practical step you can take this week, fellow truth seekers? One step this week that you can take that will renew your mind. Think about it. What can you do this week, fellow truth seekers, that will renew your mind, bring you closer to Jesus, closer to the Father, closer to the Spirit, and then closer to reflecting their image to our family, our friends, or just the people in the grocery store? Good food for thought. Thank you, fellow truth seekers. Have a blessed day.